This is the High School Football America podcast for September the 2nd, 2021. I'm Jeff Fisher. The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat, America's premier sideline instant replay system with outstanding reliability, and it has faster speed than Huddle Sideline, plus great customer service. GameStrat picks up the phone. And people that have had some struggles with Huddle Sideline know what I'm talking about. And don't forget that GameStrat also has different plans priced right for every program's budget. To get a demo, go to GameStrat.com or click on the GameStrat banner ad located on every page of HighSchoolFootballAmerica.com. Heading to the state of Maryland, talking a little top 25 high school football right now. Good Counsel, number 24 in the latest High School Football America 100, taking on number 69, Catholic High School out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Great program there. It's a good battle of private teams, and Good Counsel coming off a very impressive road victory over nationally ranked St. Joe's out of Montvale, New Jersey last weekend, and Andy Stefanelli is on the line, the head coach at the program, to talk about this week's game, a good start and a schedule that has 7, because he's not a cupcake guy, 7 top 100 teams, or teams at least in the High School Football America national rankings on the schedule. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that schedule in a little bit, but again, I know you're not afraid to play anybody. Let's just start with you're playing a team from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We know all the problems that Hurricane Ida has caused, from Louisiana up and through New York and beyond. And before I roll the tape here, we're talking a little bit about it. So the team's getting out of Louisiana, and the game is on for tomorrow night, right? At this point.
Yes, they are flying in today. Into DC. So they had a lot of struggles, and it was a little dicey here earlier in the week. But they made a decision Tuesday that they could, they were going to try to work through all of the issues of getting their kids back and situated and here today. So yeah, the game is on, and we're excited to have them.
Yeah, and, you were joking a little bit that because of the rain coming your way later in the week, you missed a practice on Wednesday, so maybe they've had a little bit more practice time since the weather cleared out there coming into this game. That pretty accurate to say?
Yeah, it's crazy how things have worked out. Monday we lost a practice day because of a thunderstorm that got near us that never really hit us, and then Tuesday was fine. Then yesterday we lose a day because we got the hurricane rain. So. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, they will practice more this week than us. So.
Yeah, make it interesting.
That's right.
That's the fun thing about high school football. It can change on a dime, and in any way, shape, or form. Andy Stefanelli on the line, head coach at Good Counsel, our good friends in Olney, Maryland, nationally ranked darn near every year in the High School Football America rankings. And Coach, I know the program real well thanks to you, and of course your sidekick there who helps out with the media, Chris Conrad. I know what you guys do. It's more than X's and O's there, and I know, based upon the fact that a lot of people in Louisiana are hurting and needing help. I understand you're going to do a little fundraise there to help the guys on the club and all that on the team there from Baton Rouge. Tell us a little bit about what that's about.
Yes, we are actually one of our team parents came up with the idea after at the beginning of this week. And so she's orchestrating the whole thing where we're collecting gift cards for the Baton Rouge Catholic community, really. So the school and not just the football program down there. And we're just going to – she's been collecting them this week, gift cards to various places like Target and Walmart, Home Depot, places like that. And we're going to – our captains are going to present to their captains prior to the game on Friday. Just as I think that's a real nice gesture of a way to kind of show support and help a little bit in a small way with what all these kids and families down there are going through right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it, and I know you well enough that I'd love to give you a few seconds here. It promotes the game, because I think what gets lost sometimes when media companies do rankings, and now we've got games on TV, whether they're streaming or an ESPN and that, it gets lost in the fact that high school football is about building young men and helping each other and all that. And I'd love for you to take a couple of seconds to talk about your program there and kind of your mission there that goes beyond. Yeah, it's great to be ranked number 24, right? But it goes beyond that, what you're doing with these young men. So I'd love you to take a few minutes to talk about that.
Well, you're right. You're right, Jeff. And really, things like this are what we preach to our kids. Values and responsibility. One of our ongoing team mottos is, we call it 3D. Decisions determine destiny. And so we talk to them all the time about that. We sync up with our values of our school, our Zavarian values there, which are very important to us. And so we really try to promote that and preach that to the kids. But, really we have to live it. You can say those things, but we have to live it. And we really, values like simplicity and trust, compassion, zeal. Those are the type of things that we really try to, for us to get the kids to understand. It's how you live. It's how do we take that onto the football field. And I think you're right. You see these big high school football games, and the kids are running into each other, and it's super competitive. And of course, all of us are competitors.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you shake hands, and it's competition, and it's friendly competition. And that's really what I really enjoy most about playing in our league and playing a lot of these big time teams nationally. You really find some great guys, great coaches that are doing the same things or trying to do the same things that we try to do with our kids. And so sometimes that does get lost. Like, these kids, some will go on to play in college, some won't, but they're going to carry these memories, these values that you teach them throughout their lives. And I think that sometimes gets lost, and people get hung up, especially in our the bigger name programs, like, oh, you guys have all these great players and it's about winning, and and it is, but that's really just a means to an end.
Yeah.
It's exciting, it draws interest, which is great. We love it. And hopefully they see, and what I enjoy most is when we hear compliments from like a hotel manager. We had it last week in New Jersey. Your team is super well behaved.
Yeah.
Very polite young man. You bring 70 kids into a hotel, it can get a little dicey if you don't have things under control. And we've had real great luck with that, success. And we of course have a plan and a method, but that comes from the beginning of teaching them, hey, this is how you're going to behave. This is how we do things, because you're a reflection of our school, of your family. And it's not just about you. And that's what football and athletics do, right? Teach them that there's the bigger view. And so we take a lot of pride in that, and been pretty fortunate. We have great kids, and they really respond well to the message we try to get to them.
Yeah, when I ask those sort of questions, I know all the coaches that listen to the podcast know that's what I'm about. But it's kind of at the fans that sometimes lose sight of the fact that you guys, A, don't make a lot of money. B, you're putting your own family on hold sometimes while you take care of your second family, and it's very important, those values that you're teaching. Andy Stefanelli on the line, Good Counsel, playing Catholic out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana this week, home opener. Or I'm sorry, it's a home opener for you, the season opener for Louisiana. I was just going to ask, how, does that give you a little bit of an advantage going into this one? You had an impressive road win in Jersey last week against St. Joe's, so how much of a leg up does it give you, even though you missed a couple of days of practice?
Well, had we not missed the practice, I'd probably be feeling a little bit better. But, yeah, I think there's certainly something to be said for having a game under your belt. They had a game-like scrimmage last week, but haven't had a real game yet. So, yeah, I would say that is, a feather in our cap, so to speak. But, yeah, as we tell the players, once the whistle's blown and the ball's kicked off, it's really just about execution, and a lot of the hype and the nerves kind of go out, hopefully, at that point. And then it's just, all that preparation. So they're very, very well coached. You can see it on film. They're a very talented team, too. So just like last week in New Jersey, you kind of hope you make less mistakes in that first game, the first couple of weeks. We're trying to figure ourselves out. We're trying to figure out what we do best, as I'm sure they are as well. And so a lot of times these early games, these first couple games of the year, it comes down to who makes less mistakes.
Yep.
So with any experience you have, we're a young team. Last week St. Joe's was also young. I'm not so sure, how much senior leadership Catholic has on their team. I know they're returning some really good players from last year, but that'll help them. The more veteran leadership they have, I think that definitely helps you in those early games. Yeah. But we're looking forward to that, and we hope that we can build off of last week, because it wasn't easy, but we were able to squeak out the win.
Yeah, but anytime you go on the road and win in northern New Jersey, which is kind of the equivalent, right, in the Northeast of what you guys do in the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference, it's a good feeling to walk away with that W. Talking with Andy Stefanelli, Good Counsel. They play Catholic High School out of Baton Rouge. You can watch that game on Flow Football. We'll have the link on highschoolfootballamerica.com, how you can watch that game on Friday night. Talk a little bit more about that win in Jersey. Maybe some of the kids that played well, where you thought, well, we're going to look, since they're young, we didn't know how they were going to react the first time. So let's get a couple of kids in by name. What went well on Saturday that you liked, and then we'll flip it probably to what you need to work on and make sure you don't do that again on Friday.
Right. Some of the guys that kind of stood out of the younger guys are two running backs. Dylan Jones, just a sophomore, and Pepe Nelson, who's only a freshman. They really played really well. They ran the ball great and were incredible with their blocking all game. And we had really good play out of both quarterbacks. We had Neo Avery, who opened the game with a touchdown run and played well, but actually, got a little bit of a quad injury there at the beginning of the game and tried to play through it. And so we went to our sophomore, Frankie Weaver, for most of the second half, and he stepped in and played great, threw the ball really well, and kind of helped kind of get the offense kind of jump started again after St. Joe's made a comeback there before halftime and tied the game up, and really had all the momentum going into the second half. So those are two young guys. We had great play from one of our seniors, Shane Carroll, out at the wide receiver position. And then Gary Bryant, our middle linebacker, had 18 tackles, 10 solos. Just, he's the best player probably on our team, and is underrated. I don't know what the college coaches want to see more of, but he's phenomenal. So, but we had a lot of young guys. We had really 11 from 19, our 2019 season, last time we really played. Almost all new starters on defense and mostly offense. So we're young. We have a lot of freshmen and sophomores, a couple freshmen, a lot of sophomores, and a lot of juniors playing. But those kids in particular really stood out during that game. And mistake-wise, things that we didn't do well. We had a couple turnovers. That pick six that really kind of flipped things back, and we were able to get through that. But just inconsistent play, some missed assignments, things that you expect, as we kind of alluded to earlier. That first game, maybe some jitters, and when you have young players that haven't been in those situations, you're on the road, you're in North Jersey playing a really, really good team, very well coached team in St. Joe's Regional. If you make a mistake, you're going to pay for it, and that's what happened. So what we're trying to stress to the kids today is, hey, we have to build off that and improve in the areas, especially with the assignments. We can't afford to have guys going the wrong way or not being where they're supposed to be against these really, really good teams, because they make you pay. And we found out very quickly with a 21-7 lead that turned into 21-21. In a snap of a finger, because St. Joe's capitalized on those mistakes, and I'm sure Catholic will do the same if we make those mistakes tomorrow.
Yeah. Two-part question for you. You kind of, last year you guys got in, maybe 2 games because of COVID in the spring. The first part of the question is just, how badly did you feel for the seniors? Because I know you like to have that senior-laden team, right? Everybody in America does. It makes a difference when you get out on the field and all that. And then, you talked about how it impacted the program where you're very young. So, is that impact still being felt from last year? And how much workout did you get in last year? Were you able to be in the weight room in the offseason, even though you really didn't play a spring league and all that?
Yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, as far as the seniors last year, I felt really bad for them. So we tried to do some practices in the fall. We did open our weight room. Now they were 9-man pods, so they were coming in very, very small groups through, the fall and winter last year. And we had the hopes that we were going to play either late fall, and then work for the spring. But we did have, some of those seniors, because the COVID issues were still very, prevalent. The vaccines that just started to come out, and the league kind of announced, "Hey, we're gonna, you're gonna be able to play a spring, but it's not really sanctioned. There's no playoffs. There's no championship. You guys kind of do whatever you can do, whatever you want to do, based on what each school is comfortable with. So basically, go make your schedule and play whatever you can, and do it within this 6-week time frame." And so, and we're in an area where we have teams from 3 different, 2 states and the District of Columbia. So, within those communities and counties, the COVID restrictions were different. So some of our seniors and really some of our, returning starters opted out not to play because of family issues with COVID and whatnot. So, we had seniors coming back that were going to be role players or backup guys for us. So as we went into that spring, we're like, hey, let's try to do right by those kids, and we're going to play them. But we kept the freshmen that were, big and strong enough to handle it with us on the varsity, because at that point they were into the spring of their freshman year. And we used it as spring ball. The games didn't really count, so we were just, play what you can. And that's how we approached it. And it was a struggle because of the restrictions we had in practice. We played 2 games early in March, and we were practicing. We weren't allowed to touch each other, so we were kind of walking through, and you're trying to get kids ready for a contact football game, and you can't do it effectively without having some contact in practice. So we were worried about the safety of our players, and we didn't play well early, and then the restrictions lightened a little bit. We were able to get more real practice. So that the second part of April, was actually beneficial when we could practice. We had a game or so there at the end that was more like a real game. And so that helped, again, but we were like, hey, this is spring ball. And we played, I think in those games, we played 8 or 9, 7 or 8 freshmen got into those games and played a lot in those games. So we were mixing kids through to make sure everybody got reps. And then as far as the weight room, fortunately after that, as we went through, and going into May, we gave them some time off. The restrictions really lightened up, and we were able to have a somewhat normal 7-on-7 season. And the weight room was back to normal this past summer. Good. So June and July were good, in the weight room. And that's really, I think, propelled us into, this fall camp, which, is not quite normal yet, but it's getting close. It's pretty close.
Better than last year.
It feels good.
No doubt.
Better than last year.
No doubt about that. And the thing about it is, too, for, people out there, the knuckleheads that don't really know the sport as well is, and I say this all the time, building strength, that's all important to have strong players. But I really believe the weight room is where the team comes together, that teamwork and all that comes together. And without that, so many teams around the country last year were kind of at the same disadvantage you had. Andy Stefanelli on the line. Couple more questions. Let you go, Coach. Thanks for the time today. Let's just start with some of the boxes you need to check here, not only for this game, but moving forward to be in a position to win a conference title, which I know is critical to you. People that have heard me talk to you before know that it's not a once and done in the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference. You beat somebody in the regular season, you're probably going to have to do it again in the postseason. So what are some of the things you guys are going to be working on, not only on Friday, but throughout the early part of the season to know that this team is in championship form?
Well, we use this out-of-conference time schedule to really build our team up. And then when I say that, build it up might mean taking a few losses.
Yeah.
We play, as you mentioned earlier, an extremely tough schedule, and we do that by design. Our league is certainly, if not the toughest, one of the toughest in the country, year in and year out. So we are looking to kind of just build on, week to week, however that may come. And hopefully, as a coach, we'd love them to be all wins, right? But if not, we're going to take whatever comes our way and use it to ultimately build for our opener in conference, and then to make the run so that we're getting better as we enter the end of the season. Because, as you mentioned, we're going to have to play two of these guys twice in our league. So we just want to make sure we're in position so that when we get to the playoffs, we're hopefully peaking and we're healthy. And you can't really control the health part of it, and that's a huge factor. But we use this time now to really try to clean up the mistakes. And I told our kids after the game last week, a lot of guys go out and put cupcakes on the schedule, and we could have played like we did against a lesser opponent and won, maybe 42-14. And we think we were great, and we weren't great. And we played a great team and barely got out of there with a 7-point win. And to me, that makes you better. And so that's why we do what we do and how we do it. And some people kind of think, they think I'm crazy, and maybe I am, but I've seen it through the years that, that's really the true test. Do you want to, as we tell the kids, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear or what you need to hear? And I think playing good teams kind of shows you what you need to see as a coach, and that's why we do it.
Yeah, and just to give listeners a little sneak peek here. So, whether the algorithm's right this early or not, I don't want to argue with that. But, Gonzaga at 8, you at 24, Arch rival DeMath at 27, and I think St. John's is somewhere down there in the 50s, and I think they may be a little underranked after what I saw they did against Don Bosco. So my question is this, going away, Coach, which is, the rankings are great and all that, but you kind of got to get it done on the field. And then at the end of the regular season, and correct me if I'm wrong, have you guys ever regularly played DeMatha, your arch rival, as the final regular season game going away, or is that just a figment of my imagination? I always thought you played them earlier in the conference schedule, because if playing them in the last game of the year is a great game if you two kind of run the table.
Well, it's funny. We haven't played them at the end of the year in years.
Okay.
However, for many years we did. So back in the 2008 through probably 14, 15, when we played each other in the championship, I think almost every year in that run, it was kind of that traditional last home game, and it was awful in a lot of regards because you'd play them and then you'd see them 2 weeks
next
later
week or 2 weeks.
Game. Exactly. And then the league kind of went to a rotating schedule. I don't remember exactly, but it's probably around that 2015-16 period. And so we had been playing them, earlier in the season, still later in the overall season, but earlier in our conference schedule. And then this year, well, it would have been last year, everything's been pushed back, of course, because we didn't play last year, is now back to, at least for the next 2 years, we're going to have DeMath at the last game of the year. And it's in a lot of ways, it's the way it should be, because it's a big rivalry game with a lot of respect for those guys. And, we're both usually playing our best football at the end. So, it's a really, really good game. Nerve-wracking for us as coaches, because then, when we were back in the day, we would call that one the scrimmage. We'd play and we're like, oh, we'll see you. Shake hands. We're like, yeah, good game. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, And the league was not quite as level back in those days. And now, all four teams in the top of the conference are really, really good, as you just alluded to earlier. You can talk about preseason rankings, but all four of us are good teams, and we don't even pay attention. I mean, no offense to your rankings, but you watch them, the kids look at them, but none of that matters. It's where you end up in the end, really. So whether St. John's is ranked, they can be ranked 50 or 60. To us, they're top 10.
Yeah.
So because we know how good they are and how good the rest of the teams in our league are. So and again, it's kind of like playing. If you watch football, NFL, NFC East, or whatever division you follow. Those games are a little different when you get those rivalry games with teams that you know so well, and that's how it is in our league. I don't think these out-of-conference games are hard, but those in-season, regular season games and then playoff games are true battles in the WCAC.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a yogiism, but it's deja vu all over again when it comes to your league. That's no doubt. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to join us and shedding a little light on what you guys are doing here in the early season and kind of the goals ahead. And as always, we appreciate your friendship, and we wish you nothing but good luck ahead in the 2021 season. Thank goodness we're back to as close to normal as we can be. And again, thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. All right, Jeff, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Again, don't forget, you can check out the Good Counsel Catholic Game live streaming on flowfootball.com. All you have to do to get the link is go to highschoolfootballamerica.com, and you can click right on through to the broadcast. The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat, America's premier sideline instant replay system with outstanding reliability, faster speed than Huddle's sideline, great customer service, and different plans priced right for every budget. And you want to save a little bit more? Just mention High School Football America to the good folks there at GameStrat, and they'll give you a good friends and family discount. To get that demo, go to GameStrat.com or click on the GameStrat banner ad, which is located on every page of HighSchoolFootballAmerica.com. And that's today's High School Football America podcast. I'm Jeff Fisher.